Oh man, I can't read the comments.
Yes, they request us. How can we request them? Go live with. Waiting for him. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The problem is now, though, that
MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, sir.
No. Maybe I shouldn't use that Wi-Fi.
Is the camera in the horizontal position? Is that cool?
You gotta flip it. We gotta see it. We gotta see your face. The problem is, I'll tell you what that shows.
Huh?
You gotta flip it, Shay. You gotta flip it.
That's better.
Let's mute it.
He's muted on this side. Ustadh, on your laptop, I think the sound is like mixing on the laptop. So just you don't have to mute yourself, but just like hit the mute on the laptop itself. Like don't press the mute button on the screen.
Got it. You mean like this?
Like lower the volume.
Here's what the problem is.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do.
Because he's using
Like that.
Naam, Sheikh.
Are we good?
We're good.
Are we good now?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, we're good.
Okay, let me go get my headphones. Now, even though you probably won't believe it, but how long that took, I've been doing these calls all month, man.
This is a little bit of a different one because we got like multiple things kind of.
I've been doing this since quarantine started.
MashaAllah.
I flipped it.
Yeah, I see your tent.
Okay, bismillah.
Okay.
One second.
Should we tell them the camera's still signing this?
Let me go get my headphones.
All right, no problem, inshallah.
I think he thinks it's his phone setting is in the, you know what I mean?
The problem is though, I'm telling you, Mecca's not.
I'm gonna tell them to put on Mecca.
No, how on Instagram?
To share it, go to the ICN youth page, yeah.
How?
Put like a
notification on.
Yeah, shit. يعني كان إنتاج عظيم. You're gonna try to do that?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. All 6 people.
One of them is Dr. Linda. The other one's probably.
We are working out some technical difficulties, as you can see, but inshallah, just give us a minute or two, inshallah, and we'll kind of get things going. Bismillah.
Also, assalamu alaikum to our Facebook fam as well. MashaAllah, may Allah bless you all for being with us. Jazakumullah khairan. Oh.
That's why I told him that you knew.
So he can unmute it then, inshallah. Wallahu musta'an. And not being on our Instagram.
That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna just try to get.
No. This is Intaj Alim.
Okay, so then let's just use.
Is this? Can they hear me right now?
So I'll just use Mecca's then.
No. Why
No,
don't
Mecca's is there's more. You have more access. It's 3 people. Turn on Mecca's live stream. Go live on Mecca. And then we'll just have them switch off to that one.
Okay, maybe you can figure out the camera situation.
Okay, so inshallah, what we're gonna do, Ustadh.
First unmute.
Okay.
Just two things, please, inshallah. So on the StreamYard, if you can take yourself off of mute from the actual screen. So I think you have mute selected, right? Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Right there.
Perfect, inshallah. And what we're gonna do, inshallah, those who are on, a few people that we have on, we're gonna actually switch the live stream to the Mecca page, inshallah. So Ustadh, what we're gonna do is we're gonna end this live stream, and then Mecca is gonna do a live stream. So if you can just join that one, please.
Okay, so I have to
I'm gonna end it. Don't worry,
leave
don't
this
do
one.
anything. Just when you see the Mecca one pop up, inshallah, just join that live, okay?
Bismillah.
Bismillah. So we're switching over to the Mecca one, inshallah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Jazakumullah khairan, Facebook family, for your patience. They're always the ones who bear the brunt of it, waiting for things to kind of sort out.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Sheikh, did you see the Mecca one is live now? You see the Mecca one?
Okay, so wait. So I have to end this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you see Mecca's live?
Wait. Okay, I see Mecca's live.
Okay, jump on.
Okay, Bismillah, I just joined it.
Okay, I'm gonna add you right now, inshallah. There you go. Perfect.
All right.
Jamil. All right, we got you, inshallah. So I'm gonna mute you on this. I'm gonna mute my computer on the streamer. I can hear you though through Instagram, inshallah. Oh, not like that. So you good?
Why is he muted again?
I don't know. We can't hear you on Instagram, Sheikh. Welcome back to our technical difficulties. This is what we've had for the past.
The Sheikh is talking. Sheikh, if you can unmute yourself on StreamYard, just unmute.
Just
yourself.
hit the mute button.
The mute, yeah, the button.
Bismillah.
Okay, so we can hear you on StreamYard, but we can't hear you on Instagram.
I wonder why not. I have the headphones in.
Into your
Can you hear me now?
No.
Huh.
No. Check the volume.
My volume is up.
On your phone?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it.
Can you guys hear Ustadh Ubaydullah and those who are on Instagram? Okay, they can hear him, so we can't hear him. So we have to keep it on. Okay, they can hear you. You're good.
Okay, Bismillah.
All right, Bismillah, Bismillah.
Okay. I should probably get started.
We're going to get started, inshallah. Okay, Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan, everyone. How long did that take us? 9 minutes and 41 seconds. MashaAllah.
It wasn't you guys, it was me, man. I'm so behind the times, bro.
No, it's okay, Sheikh. You're all good, mashallah. So Jazakumullah khairan, brothers and sisters, for joining us for a very, very critical discussion. Something that's so important, and for so long over the past couple of weeks, this has been a topic that has consumed our minds, it's consumed our hearts, it's entered into our homes, it's been a part of our family discussions, part of our community discussions, and so there's so much There's so much that needs to be said, and really someone that we all have immense respect and love for. Sheikh Ubaydullah Evans has come here today to begin a discussion surrounding the topic of voices of change in these turbulent times where we find ourselves dealing with the struggle of fighting for peace and justice, fighting for the freedom and the rights of living a life of harmony and tranquility. We really are honored to begin that discussion with Sheikh Ubaydullah Evans, inshallah ta'ala, as he guides us through that discussion, inshallah ta'ala, for ourselves. The focus for today really is beginning the discussion with ourselves. Before we can talk about societal transformation and big picture change, we must, and Sheikh Ubaydullah will honor us and share some words on the topic, but we need to realize that the transformation begins internally with us, making those changes to the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way that we process information. So I want to hand it over to Sheikh Ubaydullah Evans. After that, inshallah ta'ala, Sheikh Ubaydullah can share some words of wisdom and knowledge with us. After that, inshallah ta'ala, Sheikh Umar will share as well, and we can kind of, ask questions perhaps even for ourselves. This is a time of education for us. We're all learning, we're all growing. So maybe we can also ask you some questions, Sheikh Ubaydullah. And in the meantime as well, if you guys have questions for Sheikh Ubaydullah Evans, please go ahead and share that in the question section as well.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulih al-kareem wa ba'd. First thing, where should I direct my eyesight? This screen or somewhere?
The phone, inshallah.
The phone, inshallah. Bismillah. Mashallah, I want to thank Sheikh Tariq Muslih, someone that I've known for a very long time. He is now our assistant imam at the Mecca Center. He is our brother. He is our teacher. I knew him when he was literally just a young man starting out in Tahfidh al-Quran at a madrasa that we both attended. And I am very pleased and very impressed with what Sheikh Tariq has done with his training and done with his knowledge. And also Sheikh Omar, this is, the purpose of this session was not to make me feel like an old man, wallahi. But I've known Sheikh Omar for a very long time as well. When we were in Bridgeview, he was just a young man playing basketball at University School. And now I see him at the Islamic Center of Naperville, the good work that he's doing, some of the platforms that we've shared, forums that we've spoken at together. I always take from him, I always gain from him. So it is an honor for me to be with these two luminaries, these two visionaries, these two Muslim public intellectuals. Tariq, you ask some very big questions, very, very big questions. Help me break them down into bite-sized quantities so that we can take a little bit here and there. What's the first thing that you'd like me to address?
I think the best place to start, we were talking about it yesterday, Sheikhna, is the idea of this is a lot for young folks to handle. Everything that's going on, and really all of the sound and all of the chaos has weighed heavily on our souls, and not really understanding what is our role. How is it that we can stand by the African American community? And before even understanding what we need to do, maybe understanding the context of the history of what the Black community has been facing, why it applies to us, and what is our Islamic duty towards them. And perhaps Sheikh Ahmad, is that a good place to start, you'd say?
That's huge. Bismillah. We'll take. It's so funny. This is when you have these mashayikh from Jamia Islamiyya. I tell him, break it down into a small bite-sized quantity, and he comes back with another set of questions. But perhaps it's one of those things that cannot be broken down very easily. But what I'll say is this: racism is the first racist is of course Shaitan, and it's very interesting. Shaitan, and this was unprecedented when this was done by Iblis. Was the first member of creation to arrogate himself on the basis of something completely incidental to his creation. It's interesting that The angels also raised an objection about prostrating to Adam, but their objection was based on the comportment of Adam, was based on the character of Adam, or perhaps misgivings that they had about what would be the character or conduct of Adam. أَتَجْعَلُ فِيهَا مَن يُفْسِدُ فِيهَا وَيَسْفِكُ الدِّمَاءَ. Will you create in it one that will make mischief and shed blood? It was only Shaitan that said, I'm better than him, أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْهُ. I'm better than him because you created me from fire and him from mud. Thus begins the Shaitanic precedent of racism. Now, many mufassirun, and this is before like Black Lives Matter and kind of the contemporary context, many traditional mashayikh, traditional people of exegesis, they looked at this verse, and there's some lengthy discussion in the books of tafsir about what was the spiritual root cause of Iblis's disobedience to Allah. The most popular answer is ujb. It was conceit. كَانَ مُعْجَبًا بِنَفْسِهِ. He was so impressed with himself that he could not comply with the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he could not prostrate to Adam. That's a very popular answer. But what I read in there was insecurity. That somehow in Adam being elevated, in Adam being esteemed, in Adam being honored, Shaitan felt that he would be losing a position of closeness to Allah. That as Adam was raised, elevated, and as Adam ascended, Shaitan felt that his exclusive access to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of those with free will worshiping Allah was somehow being displaced or misplaced. So what I see there is insecurity. And I think the root cause of every person who is engaged in some self-serving, other obliterating ideology is that they're insecure about something. And so white Americans, you see this clearly, right? They're mistreating African Americans for the purpose of economic exploitation. But then they have all of these post hoc justifications for why they're doing this, right? Some of these sound silly to us now. Some people said in the 18th century, it's because of their craniums. You see, this was called phrenology. It's the way their heads are shaped. You know, they're predisposed to enslavement. Some people had biblical justifications. No, they're the accursed sons of Ham. This is why we do this. Some people, so my point in mentioning this, to condense my answer, because I really want to hear from Sheikh Omar, is that the issue of racism has always been about a failure to recognize the fullness of Black humanity. The bad treatment is just an expression of that failure. Because if these are human beings, then of course, treating them in this way is unconscionable. How can you, لَقَدْ كَرَمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, قال Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have given an inherent dignity. We have given an inherent nobility to the children of Adam. If Black people, if the descendants of Africans are human, then they can't be treated in this way. But if they are something other than human beings, if they are soulless savages, if they are in some way decrepit or inadequate in their humanity, then it justifies our bad treatment of them and our economic exploitation, of that community. Now, the Muslim community, if you look at our history is no racial, are we good?
Yeah, we're good. Don't worry.
If we look at our history as Muslims, our history is certainly no racial equity paradise. right? We've had issues of race all the way from the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam until the present day, right? From the argument of Bilal and Abu Dhar radiallahu anhuma until the Rats al-Abd, which is a Syrian sweet, right? The chocolate ball on the stick. We as a community have struggled with the issue of race. However, and this is not, I'm still holding us accountable, Muslims have never developed these racial ideologies. You did have some spurious ahadith that, mashallah, people talk, some people that I know in some of the circles that I frequent, they say different things about Sheikh Al-Albani. They say different things about Sheikh Al-Albani. But one of the things that I love Sheikh Al-Albani for, there was some ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ where Abyssinians, the Ahlul Habasha, were mentioned with blameworthy qualities. And Albani said these hadith are forgeries. Just looking at the matan, looking at the text of the hadith, this is not compatible with Islam. This is an outright forgery, right? So Muslims, although you had a few spurious hadith here and there, have never developed any justification through deen of racialized subjugation. That isn't a part of our tradition. Although we have had issues with race, ethnicity, anti-blackness, those elements of our tradition are certainly real, but we never codified them in like ideologies, or we never religiously justified these kinds of attitudes. Most of what you have in the Muslim world is you have two things that I think we carry over into the States, and I'll wrap this up, inshallah. I think one, many of the Muslim countries that I lived in, there was this mythic obsession with whiteness, with being white, right? Skin lightener, hair straightener, every wedding photo, the bride is caked with makeup to look lighter than she normally is, and and I was curious. I said, has this always been a thing, or is this the product of colonialism? What am I seeing here? And some well-read Muslims explained to me that this has always been a thing. This is not just from the colonial experience. This has always been a thing. And then two, there has always been some association with some negative associations with blackness and black people, but nothing that even approaches what happened in the United States. Most Muslims that migrate from the majority Muslim world, in my observation, they either have some of these negative views about blackness and black people from their home countries, or they absorb these views from kind of the ambient surroundings of the United States, or they just try to be racially neutral. Kind of like, I didn't come here, that's like kind of, it's not my fight. It's not my fight. I came to America to be free from political repression. I came here to make a better life for my family. I did not come to America to get involved with social justice and issues of equity and issues of fairness, and right. So I think you have those three tendencies, within the Muslim community, and then not to discount the good. You have certain immigrant Muslims that have always enjoyed a very close and familiar relationship with black communities. That exists too. That exists too. So I think our community has all of it. If I'm thinking about what we are to do in the present moment, a lot of people are very angry. Martin Luther King Jr. said that rioting is the language of those who are not heard, right? right? So a lot of people are angry. People are protesting. People are rioting. Some people are looting. I think the Muslims must look at this. And we must determine that this is our moment. You know, I'll tell you something, Sheikh Omar. This event of the killing of George Floyd has effectively Americanized the Muslim community. I have never seen this much moral outrage within the Muslim community for something that did not happen in Palestine, right? It did not happen in Philistine. It did not happen in Shishan. It did not happen in Chechnya. It did not happen in Kashmir. It did not happen in Syria. It did not happen in Lebanon. Something that happened in Minneapolis, the victim of which was an African American. And Muslims are outraged. I've never seen this much civic mindedness, this much political consciousness and awareness among our community broadly. If we have been searching for a sense of mission, we're looking for something around which our community can coalesce, something around which we can work collectively and together. I think we found our issue. I think we found our issue. The blessing in that, and really, this is really the last thing, I promise.
Keep going, Sheikh. Keep going.
The blessing in that is that if we apply ourselves to this issue, this is America's original sin. This is the issue that America has been unable to extricate from itself. America has been unable to overcome its racist legacy. Not after emancipation, not after a civil war in which hundreds of thousands of Americans perished, not after a civil rights movement, not after a black president. I think, and we have to be wise about the way we say this. I think we have an opportunity to approach America in the way the Prophet ﷺ approached the Aus and the Khazraj. And we can say, you won't be relieved of this problem without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without God. Only God can help you. See yourself, see the world, and see your fellow citizens in a new way, with new eyes. So while everyone is angry, everyone is frustrated, we should be those people. We should be that community saying, you know, we do have an alternative. There is another way of understanding humanity. There is another way of understanding your duty. لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you believes until he or she loves for her brother or sister what he or she loves for himself. Imam al-Nawawi and Sharh Muslim, this is not for your brother in the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ. This is for your brother in humanity. Right? There is another way of understanding our duty to each other. Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu inna akramakum 'inda Allahi atqakum inna Allaha 'alimun khabir. There's another way of understanding where we come from. There's another way of oh humanity, we created you from one male and one female, and we spread you into nations and tribes so that you would come to know one another. The most ennobled of you in the sight of God are those that have the most taqwa, those that revere God most. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knowing and informed. Alimun khabir. We recite this verse and we say, there's another way of understanding our origin. There's another way of understanding our diversity. There's another way of understanding who is best among us. Right? So we can't capitulate to mere frustration, mere anger, mere outrage. Those are necessary steps on the way to healing, but we have to be the people of the hal, of the solution. We have to be the people of the alternative. And I think this is what our task is collectively.
Jazakallah khair, Ustadh. Appreciate your insights. I don't have anything to say. I just have a lot of questions myself for you, because
Bismillah.
I think this is a time especially where we have to be better at being able to listen to those who are more senior in us, not just in knowledge. And that's why we wanted you, Sheikh, actually, because it's not just bringing from a side or a perspective of like awareness as someone who's grown up here, as someone as a Black American, but also as someone who has studied and so who carries the knowledge of Islam too. And I think having that, merging those two things is extremely, extremely vital for us to be able to not just know what like the goal is, but then how to kind of get there as well. So it's for me, like these past couple of weeks has just been just trying to listen, just trying to defer to our community leaders who have that knowledge and who kind of know the reality on the ground as well. So Jazakallah khair for sharing that. And so we're benefiting. I know you've been on a lot of different like calls and stuff. And
no, actually, man, I don't. I'm not. I have been on a lot of calls, but I'm not tired of talking about this. I think this is a conversation that, for me, and I'm speaking in unapologetically grandiose terms. If there's going to be a fath, if there's going to be an opening through which mainstream Americans begin embracing Islam in droves, I think it will come down to our ability to address this social problem. I really believe that. I remember years ago, actually, a person asked me one of the most difficult questions in terms of da'wah that I have ever been asked. A person asked me, what was the when the Prophet ﷺ would talk to people about Islam, what was his anchor? Meaning, where did he begin? How did he begin to engage people around Islam? And of course, we know he began with La ilaha illallah. There's nothing worthy of worship besides Allah. A person said to me, what will you do in an American context in which that question is not, that answer rather, is not groundbreaking? If you go out, even though we know many Americans believe in Trinity and things, but they understand themselves to be muwahidun, right? We don't understand them to be muwahidun or perfectly muwahidun in their tawheed, but they understand themselves to be muwahidun. So if you go to your neighbor and you say there's only one God, in America, that's not going to be like revolutionary. That's not going to be groundbreaking. That's not going to open psychological space through conversation. They'll probably say, yeah, there's only one God. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's only one God. Yeah, sure. But if you start talking about race, you have then the ear of everybody within the sound of your voice. I guarantee you, right? You go on YouTube right now and you look at anything that is controversial on the topic of race. Look at the comment section. These are debates that are still raging, Imam Omar, right? When Muslims enter that debate, you know what? This is your most pressing social issue. We have something to say about it, and we have a model. We have models within our own community that we are putting into practice, exemplifying our ideals. Now you have a voice in America. Now you have something to say. And I really believe that when this becomes the cornerstone of our public da'wah, meaning kind of our public platform, if you will, I think we'll be a community that's serious about giving da'wah to our neighbors. So I'm not tired of having this conversation, man. I think this is one of those issues that we really got to drill down on. We really got to, we really have to get this right. We have to get this right, right? We have to get this right. So I don't mind talking about it.
Sheikhna, barakallahu feekum, may Allah bless you and reward you. I know that a lot of, I know myself first and foremost, as well as our youth, not only do we appreciate you taking the time, but also sharing the wisdom and the knowledge. What's the right way to overcome some of the obstacles that lie within our youth in overcoming the obstacles that stand between us and standing by those who are struggling and trying to gain their freedoms and their rights? Like what are some like action items that we can take right now? What are some things that a young brother or sister that goes to UIC or BU, what are some things that they can do now internally with themselves from a spiritual perspective, from an academic perspective, from an activism perspective? What are some things they can do to be a part of the change? Because I think what's great about the conversation that we're having is people are probably more aware than ever in their lives, myself first and foremost, of the magnitude of this issue and the urgency for this issue to be addressed. But moving into awareness to action is such a sensitive topic, and it's one that we want to do with the utmost respect and love for our Black brothers and sisters. How do we navigate that in terms of spirituality, in terms of activism, and in terms of academia?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You know, for me, everything begins with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think we have to look very deeply. بالتأمل يعني. We have to look very deeply. وبالتعمق. We have to look. We have to take a penetrating glance at this verse. لِتَعَارَفُوا. At this wording. لِتَعَارَفُوا. إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. What I see there is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, made us into shu'ub al-qaba'il, different nations, different tribes, so that we could recognize each other's mutual humanity in its fullness. You see, even now, with all due respect, Tariq, I know you, I love you, right? I know you, I love you, right? Of course. I know you, I love you. But I think many people make the mistake of beginning their engagement with Black communities around the issue of like aid, support, help, because it suggests that Blackness, Black people are people in need of rehabilitation. These are people in need of support. These are people in need of advocacy. These are لِتَعَارَفُوا. Get to know me. Not just the things I'm struggling with, but get to know the things I excel at. Get to know the things that I do well. Get to know my mazaya. Get to know my strengths. Get to know my distinguishing characteristics. Get to know, the benefits of being in community with me. Get to know what you can learn from me, right? لِتَعَارَفُوا. Know me in my fullness. Know me in my entirety. And then just a small part of that is systemic racism, police brutality, the underfunding of public schools in inner cities, recidivism, mass incarceration. That becomes a small part. Like, okay, we connect on the basis that this is my brother, this is my sister, this is someone that I know and I love, this is someone that I appreciate, this is someone that I see many manaqib, I see many virtues in this person, I see akhlaq, mahmuda. I see praiseworthy qualities in this person. And in addition to that, I see some areas where I can be of service to them. Whereas I think some people, they only think about those areas where they can be of service. How can I be of service to you? And the problem with that is that that does not shift kind of the fundamental paradigm in terms of how you see me. Yes, you're looking upon me with more mercy and more concern, but you don't look at me as what we call in Arabic nid, like a peer, right? You don't look at me as someone that you're looking across at. You're still looking down at me, but you want to reach down with rahmah. You want to reach down with shafaqah. You want to reach down with mercy. You want to reach down with compassion, but you're still reaching down, right? Look across at me. Allow me to look across at you. Come to see that in spite of what people say in the news media, we want our children to do well too. In spite of what they make you believe, I'm very concerned about the quality of my children's education as well. I'm very concerned about property tax increases. I'm thinking about the 2020 election, just like you. I'm concerned about the state of my community, just like you. I'm concerned about my people, just like you. The same way that I'm sure you're concerned about the people of Philistine, right? And you're connected to them. And by the way, everybody knows not all Palestinians are Muslims, just like not all Egyptians are Muslims. But I studied in Egypt. Baba Shenouda, before he passed, he was a staunch, this was the head of the Coptic church, staunch anti-Zionist, staunch advocate for Philistine. So what I'm saying is that there's solidarity among the Arab because they're Arab. Uruba. It's a thing. Get to know that I'm concerned about the issues that impact Black people. Just because I'm connected with them. You might not be connected with them in the way that I am, but you're connected with me. Just like I'm connected with you, right? So let's get to know each other in our fullness. And that doesn't require a huge program. Like the verse says, Lita arafu. Dude, come shoot the breeze, man. Pull up a chair. Let's go get a pizza, man. You know, come out to the neighborhood. Come pray Salatul Jum'ah at the masjid. And don't come pray Salatul Jum'ah just correcting the tajweed of our a'imma. Don't come pray Jum'ah and say, well, you know, his dad was kind of, or, you know, someone was talking, you know, al-kalam fi athna' al-khutbah. I have some training in Sharia. Do you know how much I see incorrect when I come to masajid that are not majority Black? All kinds of things. But I'm not there. I'm not there as a judge. I'm not there as the Shari'i police, right? I'm there to experience fraternity and sorority with my brothers and sisters. And I enter in that spirit, right? And if I see somebody, one second. And if I see somebody making wudu over cotton socks, no, I'm just kidding with you. No, there's khilaf on that. There's khilaf on that. Right? But I'm not there for that. But somehow, when people come to our community, they have stand-up urinals. Get those out of there. The imam, his tajweed was so-so. There was talking during the khutbah. Just come and be with us. Allow us to be with you. And then I think the work that we do together, it grows out of that real brotherhood, man. You see, you know, when I think about advocacy, statements that I've made on behalf of Palestinians, on behalf of Syrians, on behalf of Kashmiris, on behalf of Rohingyas. It really just comes out of my real relationship with those people. It's not being forced upon me. You know, I'm going to tell you guys something, and don't put too sharp a point on this, but I want you to hear this, man. Are you familiar with the book, The Adventures of Huck Finn? Right? Mark Twain, right? In the book, Huck, the main character, uses the word nigger many times. And not, I mean, he uses it like those niggers, like, you know, in a disparaging way. However, as Huck is running away, seeking his freedom from his background, from his environment, Huck is sailing up the Mississippi. He encounters a runaway slave named Jim, right? He encounters a runaway slave named Jim. And because there is some parity in their journeys, Huck is seeking freedom and Jim is seeking freedom. Jim is seeking a different kind of freedom than Huck, right? But in the mind of a white man like Mark Twain, he probably sees them as similar, right? Huck is fleeing his oppressive culture. Jim is really fleeing bondage, right? But as they become, you know, Rufaqa, Jim and Huck, they're together, right? Jim is the Rafiq of Huck. He's his Rafiq, right? He's his travel companion, right? Naturally, they begin to develop a relationship. So when the slave catchers came aboard the ship and they asked Huck, "Have you seen a runaway nigger?" Huck knows that Jim is hiding underneath the steerage, but Huck will not give Jim up. Huck will not say, "Yeah, there's one under there." Why am I mentioning this? This is a classic example of the fact that Huck never changed officially his views on race. That's why I mentioned that he used the N-word. Huck never took like a sensitivity course and he decided, you know, I shouldn't talk that way and Black Lives Matter and Jim should be a slave. It was just their experience together. It was their being together upon a journey that brought their hearts together. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I think that we don't take that seriously enough. Sometimes we think, yeah, we have to like hold this seminar and there has to be this conference about implicit biases. And then we have to do the sensitivity training. And then we have to have all of these conferences about race and all of these conversations. Yes, do that. But if we're together, even if we never experienced any of that, Huck never had any of that. His affection for Jim came through their lived experience together. We have to avail ourselves of that as well. Lita'arafu, to be together, to get to know each other, right? So that when my son, Najashi, looks at Uncle Tariq or looks at Uncle Omar, he really just sees, oh, that's Unc, man. That's Unc. And that's Unc, man. That's good. That's good people, man. See, when people grow up like that, I don't need to give my son, you know, now I'm not, by the way, intentional programming is good. Intentional programming is good. I'm saying intentional programming does not take the place of lita'arafu, of living together, getting to know each other, right? Intentional programming is good, but it usually deals with the problems, right? It usually deals with, you know, I don't like being called this, and you did this to me, and well, I didn't understand. Living together makes our connection to each other organic, where it's like, Tariq Musli is my brother, not because the sheikh gave me an ayah of Quran, because that's my man, that's my brother. I don't know anything else. Omar is my brother because we hoop together on Saturday. Omar Hedrouk, that's my man. It's a good brother. It's my man. We'll only have that when we really live together. My fear in this moment is that we want intentional programming. Let's have conferences. Let's have symposia. Let's have workshops. But in terms of us really getting together on equal ground, being able to see each other, we're not even thinking about it yet.
I think that that last one hit home, Sheikh. That last one is something so critical for me to hear, and I'm sure many have benefited from it as well. This idea of really building those deeper relationships with people of different backgrounds, spending time, breaking bread. I remember the time that we had a burger together.
Absolutely.
We meet up and have a burger together out of your kindness and generosity. And I know that I left there having so much more love for you and knowing you so much more. And
I think it was the burger. I think it was the
burger. It might have been.
I think you had love for the burger. I think you had love for the burger.
But that experience, honestly, like I left there knowing you better and having a deeper relationship and a greater appreciation. That's just a very small human example of how that has translated into us being even closer. So experience.
The thing about that, Tariq, I think sometimes, and this is where it gets real, bro. This is where it gets real. I remember when we were at Azhar and we were studying zakat, and we were studying a wide range of opinions on fiqh zakat. And there was this one opinion. I've never seen this anywhere else, and you probably would only see something like this at Azhar, in which the zakat on jewelry for a woman was to lend that jewelry to someone less fortunate, like to let them borrow it, to let them wear it, to let them use it, to let them experience it. And I was like, Sheikh, this is a very strange opinion, right? He said to me something that I will never forget. He said, in any given society, he said, yes, this opinion is marjuh. No one takes this opinion. So I don't want anyone to think this is an actual opinion. This was just something that was mentioned in the book. But then he said, that opinion is marjuh. Tariq, translate, it's not it's marjuh. It's...
Sheikh Omar is a significantly better translator than me.
I don't have a translation for marjuh. I think it's one of those words that you have to kind of just say marjuh.
It's the weaker of the opinions.
Right. It's not the rajih.
Yeah.
There you go, not the rajih.
It's not the preponderant position. It's the weaker position.
Yeah, preponderant. I like that one.
The rajih is preponderant. But in any event, he said, oh, yes, Sania, we got you. So anyway, he said, in every society in which there is wealth disparity, right? Tafadul fil arzaq, differences in risk. He said there is always a kind of animosity. There's always a kind of, there's always some tension between the haves and the have-nots. That's always there. And he said one of the purposes of zakat is to relieve some of that, is to remove some of that, right? And I think a lot of what keeps our community from really being together, yes, I think racial difference is a thing, but I think socioeconomic difference is another thing, right? The fact that we live far from each other. And it would entail a very intentional trip into the city. The city that many fear, the city where people think if you enter, you will be killed. You have to be wearing a bulletproof vest. However, especially Palestinians, many of your family members own businesses, restaurants, good corner stores and bad corner stores in many of these neighborhoods, right? And you fear that if you invite us into your spaces, right, into your homes, into your communal spaces, maybe you fear that some some animosity will develop because we will see how much more you have than us, right? We will see that, oh man, look at this and look at that. Look at how they live and look at what I have. Actually, in my experience, I don't find any of that to be true, right? Many Muslims have come from more affluent suburbs, visited the city. None of them were ever killed, mashallah. none of them got caught in a drive-by. You know, no one entered the masjid and riddled it with bullets. Yeah, that didn't happen. It just didn't happen. We came, we read the Quran together, we prayed together, we ate together, we prayed for each other, and we departed, alhamdulillah. And many Muslims of lower socioeconomic statuses have entered beautiful and opulent homes, and there was no jealousy, there was no animosity, there was just appreciation for good hospitality, for brotherhood, for sisterhood. And then on top of that, I think when we're together, we give ourselves opportunities to benefit from each other. You know, alhamdulillah, I'm doing well for myself, alhamdulillah. But if I weren't, let's say I was working in a career that did not rise to the level of my ambition, right? And I was just, طلب الكسب الحلالي فريضة بعد الفريضة. Seeking a halal income is the obligation after the obligations. And let's say I just had maksab halal, I just had halal earnings, but it wasn't anything I was really inspired by. And let's say to give some texture to this discussion, that this kind of uninspiring, unfulfilling career that I was working in was the outcome of some institutional barriers, be it in education or employment, whatever. How grateful do you think I would be that my son got a chance to experience uncles that were physicians and entrepreneurs and lawyers and doctors and religious scholars and people that were doing things that matched their ambition. And so that I can say to my son, all of these are role models to you, son. All of these are examples to you. You can be like Dr. So-and-so. You can be like this sister. You can be like this brother, right? That would be a great service. And if we took it one step further, even to create some very intentional mentorships across, ethnicity and class, right? I think that would do us, I think we would benefit a great deal from that, man. You know what I'm saying? I think we would benefit a great deal from that. I'm kind of standing on my soapbox right now, but forgive me. I studied in Yemen initially, and then I studied in Elgin where I met Tariq initially. Then in Yemen, then in Cairo, right? First, then in Egypt. And it was because members of the larger Muslim community recognized the importance of Black American Muslims getting religious training. They recognize that, it's important for that community to produce some of its own leaders, some of its own intelligentsia, some of its own scholars. They recognize that importance. MashaAllah. If it weren't for that, look, I'm just being honest, man. A lot of my scholarship came from non-Black Muslims. In fact, all of my scholarship came from non-Black Muslims because you had Muslims that recognized that. My thing is, do we also recognize the importance of having people that have backgrounds in not-for-profit management? Do we also recognize the importance of having physicians? Recognize the importance of having lawyers? Recognize the importance of having engineers? Recognize the importance of having entrepreneurs? Like, to invest in the development of the community is not only to invest in the development of scholars. Coming to that community saying, look, I know that all of the talent, all of the ability, all of the drive to make it is present. One second, guys. One second. Give me 1 second. Come in through the basement quietly. Just one person.
Commercial break.
I don't have many. Yeah, is that Najashi?
No, that's my eldest daughter. They go open the door for everybody. It's raining?
Yes.
It's raining?
Yeah.
SubhanAllah, it seemed like too cold. It's like I didn't sense that. Bismillah. But I think to invest in the community, to invest in its health, is not just saying, let's send somebody to Jamia Islamiyah. Let's send someone to Azhar. Let's send someone to Malaysia. Let's send someone to Qarawiyyin. No. Let's send someone to the University of Chicago. Let's send someone to the University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana. Right? Let's send someone to UIC. Right? This is what I'm thinking when I think investment in the community.
You've been spitting a lot of khayr for us, Sheikh. I appreciate it. I think that last point of diversifying our investment in each other's community is taking the ta'arufu and making it into action. Taking it to the next level and saying, now that we're eating together, we're sleeping together, we're knowing each other, we're growing up with each other, we see where we can complement each other's efforts and we can support each other's communities in reaching the heights that they, and the ambitions, like you mentioned, that they ought to be at. So we appreciate you for sharing that.
And Todd, and that also cuts both ways, man. Because I think, you would be blind if you fail to recognize the moral authority of the African American community. The African American community has given the world its language of civil rights. Right? I mean, this is a historically very important community. One person said to me, I am not exaggerating, they work on Capitol Hill, and they said that they were in conference with some Zionists, real Sahyuniya, like admitted Zionists. And he said the thing that worries us most is if African Americans take up the Palestinian issue and they begin to put pressure on government in the same way they put pressure on South Africa, Oh, wait. I'm hearing like some funny noises. Okay, bismillah. In the same... Bismillah. Look, I'm quick. I'm
an expert now.
What'd you say?
You became an expert now. You got it.
No. But it's like in the same way, you guys are definitely too young to remember this. I'm probably too young to remember this. But at some point in maybe the late 1980s, the issue of ending apartheid became a thoroughly African American issue. Ending apartheid in South Africa. African Americans started putting all of their moral weight behind that issue. And this is what led to America completely divesting, boycotting, and sanctioning apartheid South Africa. Right? One Zionist said, if they did the same thing to Israel, we could be in some trouble. Yeah, this is crazy. Okay. So now you can hear me on the Instagram, but you can't hear me on StreamYard.
Yeah, I think it's gonna cut us off here because it's an hour on Instagram.
Okay.
Just continue on StreamYard or jump back on. Yeah, so now we're on StreamYard only and not on Instagram.
Okay, so I just left Instagram. Now I'm talking to you via StreamYard.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, my point I'm making is that the communities have much to benefit from each other. Because you asked me specifically about action items that your community can do, I attempted to give some of those action items, but I don't for one second think that the benefit would be only one way. I think the benefit would be mutual.
Definitely. I think Sheikhna, that for a long time we've kind of conveniently overlooked our responsibility or kind of put this to the side. But I think with how everything has kind of been brought to the forefront, now we're really, it gives us, we're forced to kind of address the issue. But I think we can look at it more as now the opportunity is here for us to really address, internally, family-wise, community-wise. I think to really kind of put and address it when for so long it was very easy for us to kind of just conveniently put this to the side and just say, put the onus on other things or other people. But now, alhamdulillah, I think we can have these kind of conversations and begin to learn.
Bismillah. Well, Amar, and this is my olive branch to the non-Black Muslim community. I know a little bit, just a little bit, about what it's like to be an immigrant in a place. I know a little bit about that. I remember, I was in this is weird story, man. Can you guys hear me good?
Yeah, clear.
MashaAllah, man. Weird story. I was in a taxi cab in Egypt. And one of my favorite things to do in Cairo used to be talking politics with Egyptian cab drivers. I love it. I love it. That was like before Sisi. Now you probably, you can be, right. But I remember talking to a taxi driver, and I just said I had a very comfortable relationship with, a lot of the drivers, and so I just said, حسني مبارك ده مش ملك يعني ما فيش ملك يمسك الحكم 30 سنة. I said ده مش الرئيس. ده مش الرئيس. ما فيش رئيس يمسك الحكم 30 سنة. ده ملك. I said Hosni Mubarak is not a president. There's no such thing as a president that holds the reins of power for 30 years. Hosni Mubarak is a king. And he looked at me and he said, I'm Hosni? Uncle Hosni? He said, ده مش يعني ملك. ده نصف الإله. He said, ده نصف الإله.
Are you serious?
He said Husni Mubarak is a demigod. And by the way, he was being sarcastic, right? He was being sarcastic, right? The next day, right? The next day, right? He was saying this bitahakkum, bisukhriya. The next day, the Arab Spring, all of the protests in Maidan Tahrir just broke out. And it was crazy. I mean, like, that was Thursday and that was Friday. Like, Thursday, this man was so untouchable, he was beyond a king. And Friday, people were in Maidan Tahrir calling for him to be deposed. That is how radical the shift was. Now, while all of this was happening, I was 2 exams away from finishing at Azhar. 2 exams. I think I had 1 usul exam on the Mustasfa of Imam Ghazali and another comparative fiqh, like al-fiqh al-muqarin, like comparative fiqh test. And this was going to, now let me explain something to you, man. Stay with me. This was 5 years, brother, in Egypt, in the heat, being cheated by taxi drivers, eating kushari, eating bean sandwiches.
That's rough.
Having apartments that had no air conditioning, opening the window to have dust and sand blow in and cover everything in the apartment. Brother, rough. And more significant and more serious than all of that, my wife passed away when I was in my 3rd year of a 5-year program. She's still buried in Al-Wafa wal-Amal, in a cemetery in Cairo. I get 2 exams from finishing this arduous journey in which I lost almost everything that was dear to me. And now the Egyptians want Suqut al-Nizam. They want to bring down the whole system. Our exams were canceled. Man, I was irate. I was frustrated. I remember coming into my apartment and I was like, bro, we have to somehow get them to reopen the school so I can take these last 2 exams. And then after that, if the Egyptians want Suqut al-Nizam, Bismillah. Right? And my roommate said to me, he said, Ubaydullah, these are your brothers and your sisters. They've been suffering under the yoke of tyranny for 30 years. They're finally raising their voices and asserting themselves. And the only thing you can think about is your degree. That's all you can think about is some degree. How petty of you. I was like, wow, that's what it's like being an immigrant. I was only thinking about what I came to Cairo for. I'm not thinking about their struggle. I'm not thinking about I'm not thinking about their mu'ana, their struggle, their suffering. I'm just thinking about, I came here for this degree. I want to get it and I want to get out of here. That experience made me much more forgiving to non-Black Muslims who came to America maybe in the same way that I came to Egypt.
So we haven't started yet.
I know I'm on a different call. I'm on a different call. Who came to America? Hold on one second.
Oh man, he's getting good at it. He muted us and went these times.
Like also. Go ahead.
Bismillah, I'm a fast learner. Alhamdulillah. I'm a fast learner. But who came to America very similar in the manner that they came to America and how I came to Egypt. So the past is in the past. We have a right. We have a chance to get this right now, inshallah. What are you thinking about, Sheikh Tariq?
Well, I'm the word that's coming to my mind right now is exactly what Sheikh Hamad was saying, which this really is an opportunity. And as you mentioned, Sheikhna, it's an opportunity that has so much potential in changing the landscape of the American community's relationship with Muslims and Islam, and the Muslim community's relationship with the general masses. And so the idea of taking advantage of that and being able to step outside of our comfort zones and get to know people of other walks of life and seeing the commonalities, like the fact that you were able to see the perspective of the immigrant Muslims that are here, or the immigrant-born Muslims, or the descendants of immigrants via your experience in Egypt, that's the type of introspection that I think we all need to go through in terms of realizing where there's intersectionality between our lives, between our struggles, between our challenges, and then serving as a source of khair and goodness for one another, inshallah.
Inshallah. You know, I think, you know, to my mind, man, you know, we're in a good place. The two things that I think can hurt this conversation most are anger and frustration and mean-spiritedness and a failure to forgive. I think if people that have experienced indignities and slights and injustices and offenses on behalf of non-Black Muslims, I'm speaking to Black Muslims now. If we're so angry that we can't forgive, that we can't be magnanimous, that we can't overlook, that we can't choose a different track of engagement, then that really is a non-starter in the conversation. I mean, we can't, no conversation that aims at reconciliation can begin in anger, right? Or perhaps end in anger. Similarly, we can't be fragile as non-Black Muslims. We can't be, you know, when Black American Muslims start articulating their grievances, articulating issues that they've had in the larger community, people rush to explain that that's not me. I'm not like that. I'm a good person. I love Muhammad Ali. I love Dave Chappelle. No, it's not like that. I'm a good guy, man. I'm telling you, it's not what you think. We don't have to have a conversation with that kind of fragility. We don't have to do that. If I didn't believe in your ability to be in community with me and I didn't believe that you were my brother, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. You know what I'm saying? We just have to be committed to working to getting this right. You know, working to get this right.
We appreciate your time, Sheikh. Really, to be able to.
No, man, it's good. It's good to be in conversation with you guys, man. You guys just look like, you know, this has been a tough moment, man. A tough moment for a couple young. Wait a minute, Omar, you're Algerian, right?
I am.
A couple of young Palestinian and Algerian Imma. It's been a tough